أعوذ أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم تر إلى الذين قيل لهم كفوا أيديكم وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة فلما كتب عليهم القتال إذا فريق منهم يخشون الناس كخشية الله أو أشد خشية وقالوا ربنا لم كتبت علينا القتال لولا أخرتنا إلى أجل قريب قل متاع الدنيا قليل والآخرة خير لمن اتقى ولا تظلمون فتيلا أينما تكونوا يدرككم الموت ولو كنتم في بروج مشيدة وإن تصبهم حسنة يقولوا هذه من عند الله وإن تصبهم سيئة يقولوا هذه من عندك قل كل من عند الله فما لهؤلاء القوم فما لهؤلاء القوم لا يكادون يفقهون حديثا ما أصابك من حسنة فمن الله وما أصابك من سيئة فمن نفسك وأرسلناك للناس رسولا وكفى بالله شهيدا من يطع الرسول فقد أطاع الله ومن تولى فما أرسلناك عليهم حفيظا ويقولون طاعة فإذا برزوا من عندك بيت طائفة منهم غير الذي تقول والله يكتب ما يبيتون فأعرض عنهم وتوكل على الله وكفى بالله وكيلا أفلا يتدبرون القرآن ولو كان من عند غير الله لوجدوا فيه اختلافا كثيرا وإذا جاءهم أمر من الأمن أو الخوف أذاعوا به ولو ردوه إلى الرسول وإلى أولي الأمر منهم لعلمه الذين يستنبطونه منهم ولولا فضل الله عليكم ورحمته لاتبعتم الشيطان إلا قليلا فقاتل في سبيل الله لا تكلف إلا نفسك وحرض المؤمنين عسى الله أن يكف بأس الذين كفروا والله أشد بأسا وأشد تنكيلا من يشفع شفاعة حسنة يكن له نصيب منها ومن يشفع شفاعة سيئة يكن له كفل منها وكان الله على كل شيء مقيتا وإذا حييتم بتحية فحيوا بأحسن منها أو ردوها إن الله كان على كل شيء حسيبا الله لا إله إلا هو لا يجمعنكم إلى يوم القيامة لا ريب فيه ومن أصدق من الله حديثا صدق الله مولانا العظيم وبلغ رسوله النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم.
Jazakallah, brother. MashaAllah. So, inshallah, we will continue this Surah Nisa, and in which, in the first ayat, Alam tara illa allazina qila lahum kufu aydikum. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like, if you look at the teachings of Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he started preaching at the age of 40 after the revelation, for the 3 years, the propagation of Islam or Dawah was secret. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to approach his close kins and friends. And for 3 years it happened. And then after 3 years, for the next 7 years in Mecca, Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam openly preached for 13 years in Mecca. And after that, Muslims suffered a great deal of suffering on the hands of infidels. But at that time, there was no command or no permission to raise up your arm and fight the enemies. So even when Muslims migrated to Medina after 13 years of Tabligh in Mecca, so the permission for jihad came in the 2nd year of Hijri. And there were people in Medina, they were saying, those hypocrites or whose imans were very weak, they used to say, oh, if we were given the permission to fight, we will fight it and all that. But when the order came, they started showing the cowardness that, why the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us or decreed upon us to fight the enemies. We were well off, just staying at home. So they were showing the cowardness. On the other hand, those people with a good heart, they see jihad as a way to, in this dunya, to protect themselves, protect their iman, protect their, families. Those people who show cowardness, I will give example of Khalid bin Walid. Khalid bin Walid, he commanded over 100 battles, and he got the title of Saifullah, or the sword of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And when he was dying on his deathbed, he was dying a natural death. So he gave a message to all the cowards. He says, I want to give a message to all the cowards. And he said that, look at me. There's not a single part of my body where there's no, mark of injuries on my body. When he would go to fight, he would fought so bravely that, he will suffer injuries and he'll inflict injuries. And here I'm dying, on my deathbed. So he was showing that, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing that all the coward people who fear death, there's a decreed time for death. So there's no sense hiding away or running away from your death. Because even if you are living in a bridges, even if you are living in a big castles that are surrounded by big, gates, death will not escape you. Death will find you. So that's why it is those people who died in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the glory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the glory of Deen of Islam, and according to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet, to protect your own family and your own religious freedom. And anybody dies, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless them with an eternal good life. Because these munafiqeen, since they had their eyes or their vision was limited to this worldly dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described this dunya as nothing. This is just a temporary place for us, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, Allah ta'ala gave you this life so He can test you who does the good deeds and who doesn't do the good deeds. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given this. And when the day of judgment, when you will be asked, how long did you stay in this world? So a person will say, maybe an evening or a morning. They will not even recount this worldly life as a full day. They will say, oh, we were just there in this world. When Nuh alayhi salam, who had lived a long life, approximately 1,000 years or something, and when he was going back after he passed away, so the angels asking, how was your stay in this world? So Nuh alayhi salam say, I felt that, I went from one door and came back from another door. So he lived 1,000. So person who was average living 80 or 90 years in this world, I don't know what he would think. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described in the latter part of Quran, he would say that I lived in this world maybe an evening or a morning. So this is this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing out to those people who are shying away from fighting for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a decree to fight back, and they started fearing the enemy because they did not have the iman, and since they did not have the iman or the strong iman, when they would see the enemy, they will fear it as Allah is supposed to be, feared and revered, and even more than that. So that showed the cowardness. And what would say? قالوا ربنا لما كتبت علينا القتال. So why would you make a decree on us to fight us? So if you would have delayed this order, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that this worldly pleasures are limited. قُلْ مَتَاعُ الدُّنْيَا قَلِيلٌ. This worldly pleasures, worldly life in which we eat good food, drink good beverages, have a comfortable life, but all the good things in this world will pass. All the bad things will pass. What will happen is, when on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will gather us. So what do we bring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Are we bringing in us good deed? So on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge us on, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a scale or mizan in which all the good deeds and the bad deeds will be weighed. Anybody who has more good deeds, his balance of the good deeds will be greater, and he will be granted an eternal pleasure in Jannah. And those people whose good deeds are less, they will face hellfire. And this is the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing that those people who are just have their eyes on the worldly pleasure. What is this? This is just a temporary thing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, aina ma takunu yudrikumul mauta walau kuntum fi burujin mushayyada. So even if you are living in the most protected castle, death will find you, because death has a definite time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows when each of us will die, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had opened this knowledge to His beloved Prophet Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he prophesied some of those people who will die and how they will die. A classic example of that is Sayyidina Ali. Sayyidina Ali. So when Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was describing the two of the most unfortunate people who are those in this world, he says the first most unfortunate was a red-skinned person. He was referred in the hadith as a red person who slay a she camel of Nabi Hazrat Salih alayhi salam. He was a person who slayed, and Nabi Sallallahu described as the most unfortunate person. And then he said, Nabi Hazrat Ali was living at that time, and Hazrat Ali, he was martyred 30 years after Nabi Sallallahu passed away, because when Nabi Sallallahu passed away, he was age 63, and when Hazrat Ali passed away, he was age 63 again, and Hazrat Ali was 30 years younger than Nabi Sallallahu. So he passed away, but Nabi Sallallahu prophesied that first most unfortunate person is the red-skinned person, or the red person who slay the she camel of Salih alayhi salam, and then he put out his hand and put it on the back of the neck of Hazrat Ali and say, second most unfortunate person would be the person who will slay Sayyidina Ali. And that's what happened. What is the common thing between those two people? One who slayed the she camel of Salih alayhi salam, and another one who martyred Sayyidina Ali. Both these murders were done because of women. In Salih alayhi salam, Madain Saleh, or the town where Salih alayhi salam used to live, there used to be a very beautiful woman, and that red-skinned person approached her and say that I want to marry you. So that woman, who she was very beautiful but very evil, she said that, okay, if you kill the she camel of Salih alayhi salam, I will marry you. So he killed the she camel of Salih alayhi salam. That's why wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came on the whole town, and the whole town was destroyed. Again, the murder of Sayyidina Ali was done because of woman. There was one woman named Khitama. So what happened that she was also a very beautiful person. So when Ibn Muljim, the murderer of Sayyidina Ali, saw her, Khitama, he put a marriage proposal that, I want to marry you. So she put a condition that if you kill Sayyidina Ali, then I will marry you. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prophesied, what will happen to Sayyidina Ali. And he even said it about Hazrat Usman. When Hazrat, latter days, in the last days of Hazrat Usman's life, when his house was surrounded, so Amir Mawiyah, his governor and the governor of Syria, offered him that, why don't you come to Syria? I will take care of affairs. Or if you order me, I will slay all those people who are opposing you. So then he recounted one of the hadiths of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They were on the mountain, and Uhud mountain started shaking. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, kicked that Uhud mountain, and and narrated something that Mount Uhud, calm down. On this there's a prophet, there's a Siddiq, and I do not know the exact word of hadith, but in this he mentioned Shaheed. So he said, I will be the Shaheed. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam even prophesied what will happen to Sayyidina Usman ibn Affan and what happened to Sayyidina Ali. So death is something a Muslim should not fear, because there's a decreed time for that, and it will come. What we have to do with this life is to keep our Iman straight and our acts straight. So when we die, our eternal life will start. So if we do the bad things, it will be a bad life. If we do the good things in this world, it will be a good life. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying about the munafiqeen that, anything good happen, because when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam moved to Medina, Medina was very impoverished city. There was a lot of, there were a lot of diseases that were rampant in that city. But when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came to Medina and his barakat started showing up, so the prosperity came to Medina. Also, there's an azan going on, so I will just stop for about 2 minutes, and inshallah I'll continue after azan. Bismillah. Allahumma rabba hazrat da'wat al-Islam wa salat wasilat So we are talking about the day after that, ultimate objective of Muslim is to achieve the salvation in the hereafter when we will be gathered. And the dua I just recited, this is the dua after the azan we recited. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says that, whoever read this dua, it is compulsory upon me to do the intercession for him in the day of judgment. So please make a habit of reading this dua. So in this dua, we are, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, maqama mahmud allazi wa'ada warzuqna shafa'ata yawm al-qiyamah innaka la tukhliful mi'ad. So fazilata wal fazilata, these are the two highest points of Jannat which are reserved for Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and we are asking for him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam promised that whoever recite this dua after the azan, he will intercede for him in the day of judgment. So make Allah, make us, grant the intercession of Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So we'll continue, inshallah, bismillah. So about the munafiq, whenever any hardship would come to Medina, like, will kuffar in this battle of Badr, but battle of Uhud, battle of Ahzab will attack Medina. So this munafiqin, especially, the chief of the hypocrites, he will spread the rumors. You see, what have you brought yourself? What have you, bought by inviting Muslims into Medina? We are, suffering from war after war, but they fail to, mention the glory that was brought to Medina, the prosperity that came to Medina, and they would try to distinguish anything good will come to Medina. They say this is from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and anything bad will come. They will point out to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That was a typical munafiq way. And if still to this day, munafiqin of today, they try to separate Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Allah and Allah's commands through Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam cannot be separated. This is an indication of munafiqat, or the hypocrisy. They say, okay, this is from Allah, this is from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam does not do anything with his own wishes. He only fulfills the commands of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So anybody who disobeyed Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is actually disobeying Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Anybody who's obeying Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is actually obeying Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is saying, everything is from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and can't you understand this concept? And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is further saying that, any favors and any blessings that come, it is from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. And anybody hardship or any wrath of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala that comes, it is through their own bad deed. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is Rahman and Rahim. Allah Ta'ala is Wadud. Allah is loving. Allah is the most merciful and beneficial. So Allah will not bring any hardship to people unless their own bad deeds will invite them. So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is saying that, this is because of وَأَرْسَلْنَاكَ لِلنَّاسِ رَسُولًا, and we have sent you as a prophet for the people. And kafa billahi shahida, and Allah is enough of the witness. And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is saying, وَمَنْ يُطِيعُ الرَّسُولَ فَقَدْ أَطَاعَ اللَّهَ, and whoever obeys Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is actually obeying Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. And man tawalla, and anybody who turns their back, or anybody who disobey, so فَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ عَلَيْهِمْ حَفِيظًا, and you're not responsible for them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also describing some group of hypocrites. And what they do that وَيَقُولُونَ طَاعَةٌ فَإِذَا بَرَزُوا in the بَيِّتَ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْهُمْ, and they will show their allegiance to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but when they go in their home at night, they started plotting and things like that with their friends. So these are the hypocrites, and there are the people who used to plot against Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that Allah ta'ala is recording each and everything. Allah is Hasib. Allah ta'ala takes account of everything. So although in the private, what they were describing, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making a record of that and is informing his beloved prophet. وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ وَكِيلًا, and Allah is the best disposer of, is enough of a disposer of all the affairs. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing out now to the greatest miracle of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which is Quran. At that time, the poetry or any kalam was held in high esteem. All the big leaders, the chieftains of the tribes were chosen because if they were eloquent speakers or they could recite good poetry. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Quran to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that, they were so expert Arab that when they recite, when they will listen to a poetry, they could tell everything about the poet himself. That this poetry, just by listening to the words, this is from the tribe of Quraysh. This poetry is from the tribe of Saqif. This poetry is written by a soldier. This is written by a chief. This is by a rabbi. So they could tell that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inviting them that, look at Quran. And if it was not from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but rather a poet, so they will find discrepancies. There are many miracles of Quran, and one of the many miracles is that vastness of subject. Name a similar topic. Laws are in Quran. Astronomy is in Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invite people to ponder over all the stars and all the heavenly bodies we see in this thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the horses, which Arabs were familiar. وَالْعَادِيَاتِ دَبْحًا, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is described. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving all the laws of inheritance in Quran, all the laws of society in Quran, all the laws of all the principles of cleanliness in Quran, or how to perform namaz, how to perform hajj, and all that, and all the different topics of history about the previous prophets, how they were sent and which nations they were sent. But you cannot find any discrepancy in it. So how is that possible? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling people that, you are familiar with one form of knowledge, which is poetry. You can appreciate a good poetry. You can know a good poetry just by listening to a poetry. You can see that. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there were big poets in Arabia, but Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never showed any interest before his Nabuwah into any poetry. He never attended any of the symposium, poetry symposium, which was a commonplace in Arabia. In Urdu, we call it mushaira, or poetic. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He sent Quran to him, and all those kuffars, all those book poets, they were silent after that. That, where did this come? Because they were sabah mualliqat. They had Arabs have chosen 7 big poets, just like today's Shakespeare and all that. So they had put their poetry into 7 tablets. They used to call it 7 hanging tablets on the door of Kaaba, and it was a point of pride for them. They would say anybody can do this eloquent poetry, so come in. But when Quran was revealed, so they had to take one by one all those tablets, or sabah mualliqat. And one poet, Umar al-Qais, he was not alive. He never saw the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He died before that, but his sister was still living. And when she heard the Quran, she said that, I'm glad that my brother passed away before this thing revealed. Otherwise, nobody would, give importance to Imrul Qais, because he was considered the biggest poet. Because those 7 big poets whose work was, hung over on the tablets, one of the Sahabi, he accepted Islam. His name was Lubid bin Rabia. So Lubid bin Rabia was one of the poets of 7 Sabah Mu'allaqat. So when he accepted Islam, he came to, in Umar Farooq time, he came and met Hazrat Umar Farooq. And Hazrat Umar Farooq, when he realizes Lubid bin Rabia, so he held him in a high esteem and said, please recite some poetry. So he recited Surah Baqarah to him and says, no, I'm not going to recite any poetry when Allah has taught me the Quran. So he recited Surah Baqarah to Sayyidina Umar Farooq. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that among many miracles, the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would say, my miracle is Quran. Although there are about 1,000 miracles attributed to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, feeding a big army with very little food, feeding a lot of people, drinking water from a very small vessel. There are many miracles, but Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would say, my miracle is Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِذَا جَاءَهُمْ أَمْرٌ مِّنَ الْأَمْنِ أَوْ خَوْفٍ. So whenever a news come to Medina, so those people, munafiqeen, they will spread it without, or some naive people will spread it without any doing any research on that. Where did that news came? And the classic example of that, just Battle of Uhud. Muslims were defeated in that battle, but when Abu Sufyan was going back, he hired some people to spread the rumors that Quraysh is coming with even bigger army to attack Medina. And some of those people were the paid propagandists for Quraysh. They came and tried to spread the news. And some naive people and some stupid people, what they did, they listened to that and they spread it that, all that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew everything. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing out to those people that, if they were those people who are spreading rumors, unfounded rumors, if they would have brought this news to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, or the people of Amr, means the people of wisdom, they would know it better. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if that was not the Rahmah, Allah's Fazl was not there and Allah's Rahmah was not there, they would have, given to the tricks of shaitan. And what is Rahmah? Rahmah is basically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. In Surah Anbiya, ayat 107, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have not sent you except as a mercy. So there was a mercy in Medina of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So that's why they did not go astray. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam took care of their guidance. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَقَاتُلْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. And so do fight for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And لَا تُكَلِّفُ إِلَّا نَفْسَكَ. And you're not responsible for anybody but yourself. Well, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to encourage Muslims to fight back, those who are showing cowardness and all that. So first established was Medina, but defenses of Medina was based on the courageous people, courageous Sahaba Ikram, who fought for the Islam, for the glory of Islam, and for the defense of the first Islamic state, Medina. Otherwise, Quraysh, they plotted. They not only attacked themselves, but they, with their diplomacy and their influence on the other tribes, they gather other tribes and attack. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that, in this, although these kuffars are many, the greatest attack on Medina ever came in the Battle of Khandaq, Battle of Trench, in which about 12,000 strong different tribes, all the tribes of Arabia, joined forces and attacked Medina. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even in that time, is saying that, do not be afraid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, although the munafiq, they showed the cowardness, but Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam showed the courage. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was the most courageous person ever, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ever sent to this world. Sayyidina Ali, who was famous for his bravery, all the Sahabas were famous for his bravery, but when he would describe the bravery of Nabi Muhammad, he says that, when the heat of battle, we, like means a very courageous fighter like Sayyidina Ali, he will seek the protection of the back of Nabi Muhammad. He never, showed any fear of any enemy. So even after the conquest of Makkah, there was a battle called Battle of Hunain. In Battle of Hunain, what happened? That Muslims army faced the army of Saqif. Saqif started showering arrows, and there was such a good, arrow throwers that Muslims are mostly fled. And when Muslims army fled, Nabi Rasulullah stood like a rock into the battleground, and there were only about 83 Sahabas. They stayed with him. The rest of them flee. And even in that time, when there was arrows were showering at the Nabi Rasulullah, he actually showed the courage, and he shouted at the enemy, I'm son of Abdul Muttalib. There's no doubt in that. And I'm prophet. There's no doubt in that. And he picked up a handful of dirt from the ground, and he said, Shahat al-Wujud, and throw it at the kuffar. And that thing that changed the tide of the battle in Muslims' favor. So Nabi Rasulullah was more courageous, and he also trained Sahaba Ikram to be courageous. And in this next ayat, and whoever recommends anything good to any person, and when he do the nasihat, so, and he accepted, for example, you invite somebody to read Quran, you teach Quran, and he advise them of a good things. So you are taking the part of that, because what you're doing, because of your instigation and because of your proposal and because of your dawah, he started a practice, he started regular prayers and all that. So you are getting the ajr, not only him, without any diminishing ajr from him, you are also getting the ajr from him. And whoever recommends something bad, something bad, and anybody start anything ill in the society, so he will get the portion of that. I will give you a bad example. Hazrat Ismail, when he and Hazrat Ibrahim al-Islam, when they built the Kaaba, that was for the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala worship alone. But the first person to bring idols into Kaaba was Umar al-Lahmi. And Umar al-Lahmi, when he started the idol worshipping in Makkah, in Kaaba, he erected. So Nabi Rasulullah saw him, that he was being dragged to the hellfire, and angels were grabbing his hair. And so Nabi Rasulullah said that all the people who did idol worshipping after Umar al-Lahmi, the punishment or the guna also went to Umar al-Lahmi, because he was the one who started idol worshipping in Arabia, in Makkah, and in Kaaba. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the reckoner. Allah is capable of doing all the good things. And in this ayat, وَإِذَا حُيِّيتُمْ بِتَحِيَّةٍ فَحَيُّوا بِأَحْسَنَ مِنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّوهَا. So whoever says salutation to you, so you do the salutation in the equal manner. So here, salutation or salam, that was taught to the Muslims by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he said, so don't take it easily. Salam is a very profound thing. It is a dua. It is also, a wish. When you say salam, that literally means peace to you. But actually, it is not the only words. That's the emotions you have to have toward your brother. You are saying salam, so that means peace to you, because I do not mean any harm to you. I will never backbite you. I will never plot against you. I will never do anything. So salam, don't take it lightly. It is a dua. It is a wish that you do it with your brother. When you say assalamu alaikum, I mean everything good for you. And the best of the salutation is the one, when you say the salutation to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And when you do the salutation, this is a salutation in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala joins you. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described in Quran, Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yasalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhallazina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Indeed, Allah and his beloved angels are reciting the salutation of Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. O you Muslims, you also recite the salutation of. So this is the salutation of that, and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is the reckoner of all the affairs. So inshallah we will stop here, and if there's any questions or comments, inshallah I will take it.